right? Don't you think women are intimidated by you?
Well, what happened was, I was doing my show. I've been, doing some version of my show for like 10 years. You'd get certain people who were like, well, they want to make sure, they would say, make sure, please don't bring up his weight when he came on. I forget who the male actor was. And I was like, bring up his weight? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I would never do that. They're like, of course you would do that. Like, you've done it. You do it with Chewy. I'm like, yes, but when you have a guest coming into your, so to speak, living room, you're going to treat them. I'm not going to go off on my guest. But then again, I did do that too. So, like, everything that I'm accused of, I get it. Yeah. Like, it just, in the moment, you're like, I'm not that kind of person. But when you look at it, you're like, oh, I see how I came across.
I am so glad you just said all that, because it just reminded me of the very second thing I thought when I first did your show. And it came true. And I I went to do your show, and I was like, what are the easy things to make fun of about me? I'm like, well, my girlfriend's more famous than me. And I was there, I think, the first time to promote this movie, When in Rome, that Chris and I both did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guarantee she's going to make, imply I got the role because of Kristen. And fucking A, you did.
I did. Wow.
And then I came right over the top and was like, well, didn't your boyfriend give you this show?
One, that's a good comeback.
And how terrible. Like, I came with that in the chamber.
Yeah, but you should have. That's being prepared.
But that all happened. And in that moment, I just felt this kinship to you that I think I've always felt for you. Just observing you from the outside, where I've thought, I think you and I have had some similar childhoods or something where we've always got one in the chamber.
Yeah.
I kind of feel bad for both of us that we would need to have one in the chamber at all times.
Yeah, well, that I know. It's a very defense, like, you have this attitude, like, I'm not ever nervous about, I guess not looking stupid, but, like, I'm never worried about, like, me not having a quick enough like, I don't get nervous about, like, if somebody's an asshole, I want to go in, like, Piers Morgan's an asshole,
Sure.
I went on his show and did an interview with him, knowing he was an asshole, knowing he disrespects women and, like, doesn't, interrupts you, but I like that challenge because it's fun for me. It gets me fired up, so I can go off on somebody.
Yeah.
It's perfect foil. You're like, great, I'll be there at 3.
And again, that in itself is a unique characteristic. We were just flying home from San Antonio, and I got into a fight with a good friend of mine about fucking the legal system, right? And I was getting real hot, and Monica kicked my foot, like, hey, P.S., you're getting a little, loud for this flight. And and then during the the next day we talked about it, and I'm like, I hate to admit this, I actually enjoy that zone sometimes. I get it so infrequently because I'm surrounded by all women, and I would be a fucking monster to be yelling and stuff at them. So yeah, like, locking horns with this friend of mine who's, I kind of liked it.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who really are conflict avoiders. I'm a conflict, like, I embrace conflict. I embrace it a lot less now that I've seen a proper psychiatrist and dealt with my childhood shit, which is what my entire book is about, my therapy. I would use the word journey, but I hate that word so much because The Bachelor ruined it so many years ago. But you realize there's a reason you like conflict. But there's also, I hate being somebody who doesn't, stand up for something or like, if my two friends are in a fight, I like to take sides. I like to go, you're wrong and you're right. Like, like, I like
levy a verdict.
Like, when your friends are like, hey, I need you to say something to that person.
Right.
And so I'm like, great, I'll do it. And now, as I'm getting older, I realize, and now because I saw a shrink, that helped me a lot.
Well,
I realized,
we'll just make it fast.
It's not your place. You don't have to tell everybody all the time what they're doing wrong. Who the fuck am I to tell people?
Yeah.
And not everybody deserves your honesty. It's like, you save that for the people in your life that are very important to you.
Yeah. I have a mantra I started, which is, and literally something I could be shouting it in my head, which is, your opinion's not required here, your opinion's not required here.
That's me too.
What is this
All
guy
the other
doing?
people in the world are getting by just fine when I'm not there. So why do I think when I'm there it's crucial I defend this person, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think mine
what the fuck
is
are you
pretty
doing?
transparent in that I had a lot of stepdads or a lot of new people that had a new program that I had to follow quite often, and I was too young or too small or too physically incapable to defend my mom, or to, I will not be a part of your terrible plan and your bad idea and your fucking bad judgment. I won't be a party to it.
You'll be taken advantage
I won't
of.
be taken. Yeah, I was molested. I will not trust. I won't let you fucking abuse my trust.
Maybe Oh, Jesus Christ.
Why is it that when we go, and everybody else comes,
really good speller, so hit me whenever you're ready.
But isn't it funny though when I'm in that zone, I have a whole narrative which is like, no, there's justice, and I'm in a position to defend all these things. Definitely not what the fuel in the tank is for that.
Right.
For
That's
me.
right. Yeah.
You know?
Agreed. I think, yeah, it feels a lot cooler, like learning how to sit back and not insert yourself. Like, I feel a lot cooler. I think also when you host a show, there's so much, you feel there's so much instilled pressure to always insert yourself, to always keep it moving, to make it funny, to make a joke, to make light of something, to make fun of something, to, you know?
Yeah.
And like, that can become kinetic and it can become your way of life. And if you do a show and you're, you know, on for 10 years, you start to be on all the time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be off. I was like so over myself. So I think we all go through phases where we start to like grow up a little bit more and realize like less is more.
The more I like myself, the less of those other things I even care about. All these things that I think are pillars of what I care about. Magically, I don't really care all that much about them, like on the days I like myself. You know, I'm like, I can roll with a bad driver and I can roll with a shitty fucking person at work and all these things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm now realizing it's all me. If I can get this thing like running tip top, I don't really have many problems. I can just see things for what they are. Oh, that person's scared, and then that person's this.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Makes you feel much more sagacious too. You're like,
sagacious.
Oh, yeah, like
well,
the
now I
second
just
big
came.
word.
I just actually orgasmed.
What was the first one?
Can't even remember.
Exculpatory. Exculpatory.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. We like
We
that.
should maybe keep a list and
Of
put,
Chelsea's
yeah,
words?
because
I'm already writing it all down. Don't worry. My assistant's outside the window.
Wait, one thing. I think the interesting thing is the person who really has the power is the one that knows they're being taken advantage of, quote, taken advantage of, and not care. Like Kristen
This is a bad app.
always like knows, oh, that person
not
thinks they're doing
the
this,
correct
but I don't care because I'm better than that. Really. So like to not care and to not fight back is actually, you actually have more power.
It's kind of aspirational, yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. She
Well,
sounds. I listened to your interview once driving up to Lake Bass, the one that you did with Kristen.
And you were happy you didn't get married?
I was. I thought it was very brave that you put that out there, and that you didn't care that everyone heard you guys just bickering for an hour, basically.
And what a control freak I was in that whole thing.
But I mean, I think that kind of honesty, like I think that's important. I mean, it's also good for people to hear because everybody thinks that their only things are happening to them in their life. You know what I mean? And it's relatable.
Or even worse, that like you're gonna bump into somebody and they're your missing piece, and then that'll be it. Like you'll just now be on a honeymoon for the next 20 years. Like even this thing you guys think is so cute is like a ton of fucking work. You know,
Right.
we don't wake up in the mood to just get along all day long. You know, that happens maybe 1 in 20 days.
Yeah, it's almost unethical for you to do the Samsung commercial and then not air it. Like you have to balance that out.
Right. No, but back to childhood, because the other fun thing, not only are we born within, you know, just mere days of each other, your dad was owned a used car lot?
Well, a lot is an exaggeration. It was more like a driveway.
Okay.
And it was the driveway in front of our house. So I don't think he really, like, he fancied himself a used car dealer, but like there wasn't a lot of turnover. Like the cars would come in and then just be there.
But
there wasn't a lot of selling of the cars. There was a lot of collection.
Sure. He loved finding a good deal, but he was certain he could.
Really embarrassed.
Okay, but my dad sold cars my whole life. The kind of education I got from him about the world, I think, was dramatically shaped by the fact that he had that job.
Yes.
Like you're saying, yeah.
Shyster. My dad was a shyster.
Well,
he was dishonest.
Right. Here's what the way I was going to dress it up was my dad's only moral imperative was make money. Like that was the moral imperative. Like fucking make money and then you're set. That's what life's about. So by hook or crook, whatever you got to do, just fucking make that money. And I just wondered if that was kind of synonymous in the used car game.
Yeah, I think if you're a used car dealer, things probably just didn't work out the way you thought they were going to, because no one grows up and says, I want to sell used cars. I mean, maybe you want to sell cars, but you don't set out to sell used ones.
Right.
You know, that's not a goal.
Although that is where all the profit is, by the way. Just
It's kind of like
note.
dentists. You're like, well, is this really your passion, or did medical school not work out? Because who really wants to go into somebody's mouth and clean out a cavity? That can't be like what drives you. It's a responsible career, and it's a good career choice because you can make money, but is it it just feels
Safe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or unintended.
Sure.
Or like a fallback.
Yeah.
To all the dentists out there, I just want you to know how much I appreciate.
Oh, I've already
They're
gotten
already
in trouble with dentists
suicidal.
because we talk about how much they commit suicide and that,
Yeah,
people
you're right.
with a very high rate.
I'm in trouble with the veterinarian committee.
Oh.
Community committee.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What'd you do?
Well, I guess I will be in trouble because the book's not out yet, but I talk a lot in the books about how vets really just don't have any like concrete information for you.
Oh.
Every time you rescue a dog, they're between 4 and 12.
Yes,
Like
yes.
it's a big margin of error.
Yes.
Or they say, oh, she has an infection and we're going to remove all of her teeth. And then you say, well, why would you remove all of their teeth? Like, I mean, she's going to have to chew. Can't we keep some of them? And the woman on the phone, she's like, well, we're going to remove the ones that are infected. I'm like, right. So what if they're not all infected? And she goes, well, we'll see when we get in. I'm like, you know what?
No.
Why don't I take my dog to my own fucking dentist? Because forget about it.
Well, she goes, we'll see when we get them out.
Yeah.
First we'll remove them, and then we'll put them through a battery of tests, and then we'll know pretty certainly.
Right.
I have a separate but adjacent pet peeve, which